periods coming in hot, guys.
In the land of Drosophila.
Test tube of trees.
Thank you, Eric. There lay 2 villages. The first was the village of Red.
A wild type of village.
The second was the village of White.
Everyone's caught up now.
One day, a red-eyed male impersonated a white-eyed male on flyharmony.com and met a white-eyed female at Wheat Lake's restaurant. Although he lied about his eyes and sex comb size, she thought his eyes complemented his wings very well. Instantly, the 2 fell in love and got married, becoming Mr. and Mrs. A. For special hugs, they created many baby flies.
See all the little red-eyed babies. Red-eyed babies.
F1.
F1s.
Many days passed in Drosophila, where incest is encouraged. 2 of Mr. and Mrs. A's children decided to start a family of their own. Mr. A number 2 and Mrs. A number 2.
Got some white eyes, some amber eyes, some brown eyes, some red eyes.
Some questionable babies.
You can feel the tension. To their surprise, Mr. A number 2 and Mrs. A number 2 had fly babies with 4 different colored eyes. Mr. A number 2 was confused because he and Mrs. A number 2 both had red eyes. Mr. A number 2 was worried that Mrs. A number 2 was super special hugging someone else.
Meanwhile, Bart, a white-eyed male, hooked up with Betty, a red-eyed female, over wheat pancakes at IHOP. 10 days later, they produced all red-eyed F1 generation flies. Ben and Beth, kids of Bart and Betty, fornicated and created a plethora of progeny. Again, we have white eyes, orange eyes, amber eyes. Oh, orange, amber, brown, and red eyes included in the progeny.
White.
Next. Ben became suspicious when Beth demanded child support. Ben didn't think the children were his because they had amber, brown, and white eyes.
Tension.
Ben decided to go to a geneticist, where he met up with his old friend, Mr. A number 2. They were both looking for answers. My wife had children with different colored eyes. I have to pay child support. The geneticist said,
Calm down, Ben and Mr. 2. Everything's all right.
He went on to explain.
The wide-eye mutation is a trait inherited by 2 independently assorting genes. Different phenotypes are expected. In this case, the different phenotypes are red, white, amber, and brown.
Ben and Mr. A number 2 both agreed that they needed more proof. So the geneticist showed them a chi-squared analysis with their data and the assumed mode of inheritance.
9 to 3 to 3-1 ratio compared to the data of their F2 progeny. For both chi-square values, p-values greater than 0.05 were found, supporting the assumed mode of inheritance.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, I can read this. Mr. A number 2 and Ben went home to their significant others to apologize for questioning their loyalty. And at the bottom there's a banana peel because they like bananas, as mentioned earlier.
Chapter 2. Mr. A number 2 and Mrs. A number 2 and Ben and Beth all lived happily ever after.
The end.